If you thought that a height of 2.58 meters or a marathon time of 2 hours and 1 minute were spectacular records, then you haven't seen these records yet. In today's video, we will present you 10 unbelievable world records that people have actually set. We'll show you not only unique artistic feats that will probably never be repeated and physical borderline achievements, but also spectacular records in roller coaster riding or computer gaming. So it's going to be very exciting here at Wonderlane. Let's start on number 10, directly with a record that really takes your breath away, and that is slackline surfing. While most people think of slacklining as a nice activity in the park without much risk, what the slackliners Samuel Villery, Friede Kuhn, and Danny Schmidt did in Monaco in 2016 is simply sick. Namely, instead of merely balancing from one end to the other, they stretched 3 slacklines several hundred meters above the ground and began goading each other with increasingly dangerous wobbly movements. In the process, they not only created incredible images that make you nervous just looking at them, but also set a record in slackline surfing. That is, a variation of slacklining where you intentionally make the slackline wobble, which makes the whole thing extremely difficult. While this record is already blatant, the 3 were protected with a safety rope just in case. What circus performer Philippe Petit did in 1974 is at least as spectacular on its own. The Frenchman balanced completely unsecured at a height of 415 meters from one World Trade Center to the other. Let's continue with a record for which the American roller coaster fan Richard Rodriguez chose a very special place in 2003, the German holiday park in North Rhine-Westphalia. At that time, the 2 roller coasters, Expedition G-Force and Superwirbel, were located there, which Rodriguez chose to set a truly dizzying record. He wanted to ride these 2 coasters for 7 weeks in a row in order to break the record for the longest roller coaster ride in the world. In order to make the record even more exciting and extreme, he deliberately did not choose a boring children's ride, but rather these 2 attractions, which are not only more than 50 meters high, but also include several overturns. During the 7 record-breaking weeks, he was then only allowed to leave the wagon for 15 minutes every 8 hours, and was even forced to sleep at night while the ride was in full swing. While many people get sick just looking at such coasters, Rodriguez managed to do the unbelievable in the end, spending almost over 800 hours on the 2 mega coasters. On number 8, we continue with a record whose attention to detail fascinated the entire world of computer games in 2014. It's probably the largest number of blocks ever used in Minecraft, namely 4 billion. For several years, 2 Danish Minecraft fans had set themselves the goal of recreating their entire home country in the game. They not only tried to faithfully recreate every street, village, and town in Denmark, but also to make everything look as realistic as possible. What sounds to many not only like an incredible effort, which ultimately consumed a terabyte of memory, is in reality a sad ending. After the world had marveled at the mammoth project, the 2 players also granted other gamers access to their world. They then took advantage of their opportunity and blew up almost the entire map, leaving behind a field of devastation. Nevertheless, the 2 Danes will keep the record for the first completely rebuilt country in a video game forever. Next, we come to a record that many initially thought was fake. Fortunately, the Guinness Book of World Records verified it as real in 2014, which makes the feat that was set here almost more incredible. Namely, it's about show basketball player Corey "Thunder" Law, who has been touring the world with the Harlem Globetrotters for many years, astonishing the masses with sensational trick shots, spectacular jumps, and daring stunts. Law reached the pinnacle of his creativity in 2014, when he set an outstanding record, namely the longest backward basket toss of all time. To accomplish this, he had to backhand a basketball from more than 22 feet away. While most pros can't even throw forward that far, Law managed the impossible after just a few tries.
Yes, sir. Got it! Oh! Yes, sir. Got it! Oh!
On number 6, we continue with a sporting feat that seems almost supernatural, namely the will to run every day, no matter what the weather's like outside or how you're feeling at the moment. This inconceivable record was set despite all the negative forecasts in 2018 by the American YouTuber Holla Good, who not only proved iron will, but also showed what the human body is capable of. After a long 52 weeks of running day after day in heavy snowfall and heavy rain, among other conditions, he had covered an incredible 2,800 miles. That's roughly the distance from Toronto to the North Pole. We continue with a record that also shows what the body is capable of when the head only wants it. This record is much more dangerous and should not be imitated under any circumstances. It's about the extreme athlete Peter Collat, who broke the world record for holding his breath in a violent way in 2011. Collat, who was already famous before this attempt for extreme dives and life-threatening actions in the water, held his breath for an incredible 21 minutes and 33 seconds this year. What is actually an impossibility for humans and is normally only achieved by whales looked easy enough for Peter Collat. Nevertheless, such an attempt is absolutely life-threatening and should only be performed by highly trained professionals. Next, we come to number 4, and with it, a record that is very musical, but difficult for many to hear. In 2008, musician Adam Lopez sang the highest note ever uttered by a human being. It was a C sharp that was not only so high that it could not be reproduced even by a piano with 88 keys, but was even almost inaudible as Lopez increasingly approached the range that can no longer be perceived by the human ear. On number 3, we continue with a curious record, rather inglorious for most soccer players, but in the case of Sebastian Abreu, completely deliberate. The former Uruguayan international is the soccer player who has changed clubs the most times in his life. While other stars, such as Zlatan Ibrahimovic, are already an absolute exception with 10 professional stations, Abreu puts the crown on the whole. The 44-year-old, who even reached the World Cup semifinals with Uruguay in 2010, has already played professionally for 35 clubs. Not only did he play for countries such as Uruguay, Argentina, and Greece, but he also collected a small pin from each club in his career, which he affixed to a specific cup that depicts his entire sports career. On number 2, we come to a world record that shows that both the creativity and the diligence of some people have no limits. In 2020, some fans recreated the entire third part of one of the most elaborate film series of all time as a flipbook. That is Harry Potter. The entire fourth part of the series was converted into a flipbook, but it must be mentioned that the images were only printed out and not drawn by the fans themselves. But one Harry Potter fan went even further. This fan painted an entire scene from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets in a 712-hour painting marathon. In the end, he created 1,924 pictures, which he combined into the largest Harry Potter flipbook of all time. This record is not only extremely unique, but also incredibly elaborate, as the painter painted every last detail from the movie scene onto each of the 1,924 pictures. Last but not least, on number 1, we come to a current record holder who is not only very prominent, but has also left all doubters behind. It is none other than Queen Elizabeth, who holds a record that will probably not be broken anytime soon. She is the longest reigning head of state who is still alive. Queen Elizabeth has been in office since February 6, 1952, and has therefore been the head of one of the most powerful nations in the world for almost 70 years now. She also ranks 7th in the perpetual record list, just 6 years behind Grand Duke Charles Frederick of Baden, who ruled several duchies in the Holy Roman Empire for a total of 73 years. And that's it with our video, and 10 incredible world records that were actually set. Write us in the comments which of them you found the most amazing, and which cool record you could set. We are curious. Otherwise, like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to Wonderlane for more exciting content, and we'll see you next time, here at Wonderlane.